They move silently through forests, farmland, and city edges, powerful, intelligent, and nearly unstoppable. Wild boars have spread across 5 continents, reshaping landscapes and testing humanity's ability to coexist with nature. Each year, they cause billions in damage, yet their survival story is one of evolution's greatest successes. Now, scientists and farmers are working together, using drones, genetics, and data to restore balance. This isn't a story of conflict. It's a global investigation into how modern science is learning to outsmart one of the world's most adaptable creatures. Across continents, from the rice fields of Southeast Asia to the farmlands of Texas and the forests of Europe, a silent invasion has been unfolding. Wild boars, powerful, intelligent, and adaptable animals, are multiplying faster than nature can handle. Each year, they cause billions in agricultural damage, disrupt ecosystems, and even threaten native wildlife. But the real story isn't just about the animals. It's about how humanity is finally learning to fight back, not with force, but with science. In the early morning haze over southern Georgia, a farmer named David stands by his cornfield. What used to be a perfect patch of green now looks like a battlefield. Deep holes, uprooted stalks, and muddy trails reveal the nightly visitors, a family of feral hogs, strong enough to overturn soil like a plow. For decades, farmers like David fought back with traps and fences, but these animals are incredibly smart. Once a boar escapes a trap, it rarely falls for the same trick again. So, researchers began asking a deeper question. What if we could outthink them? That question led scientists to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Wildlife Services program, where data meets wilderness. Using satellite tracking, drones, and even AI-based heat sensors, they started mapping boar movements across huge landscapes. What they found shocked them. These animals could travel up to 20 miles in a single night, avoiding human scent trails and remembering feeding zones for weeks. They weren't just surviving. They were strategizing. As this data spread, new ideas followed. In Texas, a team of conservationists began experimenting with remote-controlled trapping systems. Massive steel cages triggered only when an entire sounder or family group entered. A camera feed sent live footage to a smartphone app, allowing operators to close the gate remotely. This precision meant fewer escapes, less suffering, and better results for population control. The system worked. In 1 year, over 300,000 wild pigs were captured, humanely across the U.S. using these smart traps. But trapping alone couldn't solve a global problem. In Europe, the issue took a different turn. There, wild boars are native, part of the ecosystem for thousands of years. The challenge wasn't to eliminate them, but to manage them responsibly. Germany and Italy began combining ancient forest management traditions with modern genetics. DNA tracking now helps scientists identify how populations spread and interbreed, a biological fingerprinting system that can predict where new groups might appear next. Meanwhile, in Japan, engineers took a completely different approach. Facing increasing boar encounters in rural towns, they built solar-powered alert systems that mimic the sounds of predators, wolves, tigers, and even human voices. When triggered by motion sensors, the devices release randomized sound bursts that keep boars away from farmland without harm. Farmers call them robot guards, and they've reduced local crop losses by more than half in some areas. Yet, no single method works everywhere. In Australia, wild boars thrive in vast outback regions too large for fencing or patrols. So conservationists there turn to an unusual ally, drones with thermal imaging. Flying at night, they scan for body heat signatures across the bush, marking GPS coordinates for on-ground teams. The data then feeds into an open-source platform, allowing farmers, park rangers, and researchers to work together for the first time. What once felt like an endless fight now feels like a coordinated mission. Still, This battle has a deeper layer ecology. As boar populations rise, native species often decline. Ground-nesting birds lose their eggs, small reptiles vanish, and even water systems change. When wild pigs root through riverbanks, they release sediments that choke aquatic life. This ripple effect transforms entire ecosystems, often without people realizing it. But with better monitoring, that's changing too. In Sweden, biologists have installed motion-trigger cameras deep in forest reserves to study how boars interact with wolves. The findings surprised everyone. Where natural predators return, boar numbers naturally drop, and forests recover faster. It's a powerful reminder that nature has its own balancing mechanisms. If we allow them to work, one of the most innovative ideas comes from genetics research. Scientists are testing non-lethal fertility control methods, vaccines that can temporarily reduce reproduction rates in wild pigs. When distributed through bait, these treatments could slow population growth without disrupting entire ecosystems. It's early-stage science, but promising enough that several governments are funding large-scale trials. Back in Texas, David checks his fields again months later. The ground looks healthier now. His smart traps, linked with the regional wildlife database, alert him whenever movement is detected. He's not just reacting anymore. He's part of a larger system built on data, cooperation, and respect for balance. We used to see them as enemies, he says. Now we see them as a challenge, one we can finally understand. As day turns to night, the story zooms out. The same challenges play out worldwide, in Brazil's forests, where wild boars threaten native capybaras. In India, where they raid crops near tiger reserves. And in Europe, where city parks are now home to entire sounders wandering under streetlights. Everywhere, people are realizing that control doesn't always mean conflict. Sometimes, it means understanding the rhythm of the wild and adapting around it. Because the truth is, the wild boar isn't the villain of this story. It's a survivor. An ancient species thriving in a world humans reshaped. The real question isn't how to destroy them, but how to coexist while protecting farms, forests, and food security. That's the balance the next decade must find. One guided by science, technology, and respect for the natural world. And as researchers continue to share global data, from Texas plains to Polish woods, one thing becomes clear. This fight isn't about domination, it's about harmony. A world where agriculture and wildlife can coexist doesn't seem impossible anymore. It just requires understanding, innovation, and a little humility. The global wild boar crisis began as a story of destruction. But today, it's becoming a story of cooperation between humans, technology, and nature itself. The battle is far from over, but for the first time, it's being fought with intelligence, compassion, and purpose. Because in the end, every ecosystem has its balance. We just have to learn to listen.